On today's episode of the Bradeaux and Will Show, Will and I are going to be talking about what the Rockets should do with Reed Sheppard and Jabari's injury. He just broke his hand, along with Tari's injury. Is there room for concern there? So stay tuned for this episode of the Bradeaux and Will Show.
All right, and welcome back to the episode of the Bradeaux and Will Show. You guys heard Brad in the intro. We got a couple quick topics for you guys today. Starting off with Reed Sheppard, and what should we do with him? Should he go to the G League? Should he stay with the team? Jabari Smith did unfortunately break his hand yesterday, so he's gonna be out for about 4 to 8 weeks, at least what they diagnosed him with. So we're gonna be without him for a period of time. And then Tari Eason has the mystery injury of death at this point that no one really can diagnose and give us a clear, cut answer on what the problem is and how long it's going to take to address that problem. So all those things are going to be talked about today. Brad, I'll let you start off with the Reed Sheppard conversation.
Yeah, Reed Sheppard right now, it's no secret if you've been watching the Houston Rockets that he has been struggling. And as of late, he hasn't even been playing. The last 2 games, he's been a healthy BNP, coach decision. And for me, I think they should just throw him into the G League. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no shame in 2025 now to send a young player to the G League, help him get some reps and get him back up to speed. If you look at the numbers right now, it's ugly, and it could be one of the worst stat lines I've ever seen for a top 3 pick. And I say this to say while I pull up these numbers, I am a huge fan of Reed Sheppard. I have faith in Reed Sheppard. I think the Rockets need his skill set, an elite shooter. Again, that's what he was at Kentucky. He had one of the best shooting numbers of all time. You can only date back to Glenn Rice back in 88, 89 for a player to have a better shooting season than Reed Sheppard. In college. But in the NBA, I don't know if y'all have seen his numbers, but I won't even pull up the raw stats. 3 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. He's not really playing that much. But field goal percentage wise, splits wise is where there's a concern. He's shooting 32% from the field, 28% from 3, and thankfully 83% from the free throw line. But this is a guy who shot 52% from 3 last season at Kentucky. He shot around 47% from 3 last year on NBA range threes at Kentucky. So, and he was around 58% on the open 3. So I don't know where these nerves are kicking in for him, but he just needs to go get the high volume reps down with Rio Grande Valley and get back up to speed. Because right now, the Houston Rockets are a better basketball team with Aaron Holiday, and you don't want your basketball team to be better with a role player opposed to your number 3 overall pick. So that's something they got to change quickly. But that's just my quick take on Reed Sheppard. If Udoka's not going to play him, I see no reason for him to be on the main roster sitting on the bench and not getting high volume reps with the Vipers.
I think because I won't just completely echo what you said. So I'll somewhat provide the counter argument.
Right.
I think that the counter to what you said is that, and for the record, I would probably send him to the G League too. If it was up to me, if he was open to it. But the counter is, you could argue that him sitting on the bench and getting to learn every single day from Fred VanVleet in practice, and then getting to watch the games up close and watch how these guys prepare, how they approach the game. Like, one of the things that I think is always really interesting to me is whenever one of our young guys have gotten hurt for a period of time and had to have sat on the bench instead of playing the games, they always come back and say, I learned something from just watching the game as opposed to playing. And they say they only learn that from being able to watch from the bench. And I think there's an argument to be made that Reed Sheppard would also gain that knowledge by sitting on the bench. In terms of his just actual overall play, I'm not even remotely concerned about where Reed is as a player, because he's being asked to do something that's really difficult. Which is adapt as a rookie point guard without even playing. That's very difficult to do. And we've seen time and time again how there's a lot of guards who are all-star caliber right now who start their careers off very, very slow their first season or two. That's because it's an adjustment period. And those guys did get the play. Reed's not even getting the play right now. And rightfully so. He's on a team that's trying to win. So it makes sense why he's not trying to play. That's how most rookies would get their starts. This isn't the Silas Rockets where you just start your rookie 30 minutes a night off rips anymore. So yeah, I'd probably send him to the G League, but I understand that there's some counter arguments as for why that may or may not have happened already.
And what makes a good point there, because there is a lot to learn from sitting on the NBA bench and watching those games and learning from the veterans that the Houston Rockets have. And as was said again, he would probably send them down. And my reasoning for that as well is, yeah, Reed is sitting on the bench and learning, but he's kind of been doing that the whole season. Because if he's playing bad in the first, well, he'll come in to start the second, and if he's not playing good, then he's not even playing the second half. So I feel like he's just been on the bench the whole season, kind of just watching. So at a certain point, it's like, bro, go back and get that 50% 3-point jumper that we know that you have, and then come back to the main roster. So I'm sure we'll agree with that. So yeah, that's us with that topic. And well, I'll let you start with the Jabari injury. He just broke his hand in shoot around. First time I've seen that happen. So hopefully he gets a speedy recovery. He's off hands, out 4 to 8 weeks. What were you thinking about that, or when you saw that?
That's a big loss for the Rockets, obviously, because he was playing some of the best basketball of his career. And it came at quite possibly the worst possible time, because it came when Amin was suspended and Tari's already out with an injury. And we were going up against the best team in the league. So obviously going up against that team, even more short-staffed than what you already were, at a position we are unfortunately so thin at right now. It was not going to be good. And then also Jabari, he's very unique because he allows the Rockets to run the defensive scheme that they run, where they have Şengün guard the weakest shooter and Jabari guards the center. And now, I mean, Amin might be, I think he's a better POA defender. I'm not sure Amin is better at guarding bigs than Jabari. And so Amin's probably going to start in Jabari's absence, but I'm not sure you can still run that same scheme. Like, they might try it. I'm just not sure at its effectiveness with it. Also, I think you might even lose some of Amin's value by asking him not to be POA. But yeah, I think that is one area where we're going to miss, not just in terms of depth, but you're going to miss Jabari's ability to guard bigs and weak side rim protect, go out there and get rebounds. Like, those are things that he did pretty well for us, along with also just spacing the floor, which he was doing at a decent clip, not the world's best clip, relative to what we thought we were getting when he was drafted, but he was still spacing at a pretty good clip. And yeah, like, Amin Thompson absolutely can't do that. So that's another area where I think we're really going to miss him. And because Tari Eason's already out with injury, losing Jabari on top of that, I mean, it just makes the wing room even thinner than it already is. And both Bari and Tari were really good defenders and were one of the biggest reasons why the Rockets defense was as good as it has been this season. So losing them, both of them at the same time, is obviously costly for us.
Yeah, and I'll even say a Rockets team that's bottom 3 in the league in 3-point shooting, one of the worst inefficient teams in the league. They're now losing a player who, in the last 21 games, was shooting 41% from three on around 5 attempts a night. That's something that they're just going to miss. And I agree with Will in the sense that, yes, you get Amin Thompson, the Rockets' best defender, back in that starting lineup. That's going to be really fun to see. But yeah, you kind of do lose some value not using Amin to his strength defensively. Yes, he can guard bigs, but it is a huge benefit having him as a POA defender. And the Rockets having all these versatile defenders allowed these defenders to play to their strengths. You know, you had Amin out there, you had Tari out there, Dylan out there. So you can kind of pick and choose where you want your best defenders. But now, once you start losing a bunch of these wings, you have to start getting selective on where you throw them. So it's going to be a tough injury to have. Again, the spacing is going to be uglier. You got more Jayshawn Tate minutes, who I'm a fan of, but again, he's not the best shooter, and he's been scared to shoot recently. He's pump faking on threes. You got to take the open threes if it's there. So that kills spacing even more. Defenses are going to pack the paint even more. It's a tough injury to have. The kid was playing great basketball, not only from 3-point shooting, but his rim protection was really well. In that same 21 game sample, he was averaging 1.2 blocks, which is really good for a power forward, right? And it's the same guy who can guard the perimeter pretty well. You can, Will, would you say the same? Like, his perimeter defense has been a lot better this season than years prior.
I'd say he's better. I still say that I probably don't want him doing that as much, though.
Yeah, I agree. And the versatility, though, is important. So if he is there, it was serviceable for the most part. So gonna miss Jabari. Ben Dubose on Twitter, great follow, has been on the show. He pointed out there was an injury from Gordon Hayward a few years ago where he injured his offhand. Same thing as Jabari. He came back in exactly a month. And so he's right back into the starting lineup. So praying that's the same thing we see with Jabari Smith Jr. We get him back in February. Yeah, the Rockets had a tough slide last year around this time of year. I'm just hoping the same thing doesn't happen. But the thing that makes this Jabari injury way worse, and I'll kick it back to Will,
No,
is
actually, I want to say one more thing about Jabari before I go to Tari. I was at the game, and he's not in a cast, he's in a brace.
Mhm.
So I do think that bodes a bit better for like his recovery and coming back quicker. I think if he was in a full out cast, that would be like 2-3 months. But the fact that it's just a little hand brace, because I don't even, I think he didn't even know he broke his hand. So
he did it. He
yeah,
did.
so
Yeah.
I don't think it's that serious. Not gonna. I don't think it's that serious. But with Tari, um, man, we don't know what's going on with Tari Eason, and that's the part that's frustrating. Is that no one really knows what the issue is, because for the last 3 weeks he was like a game time decision listed as day to day, and there was videos of him warming up, drenched in sweat in practice and pregame, and it's like, okay, he might be playing tonight. Udoka says it's a game time decision. Tim is for the game. Tari's not playing, and that was kind of the trend for the last 2 weeks. And then now it's like he's just doubtful, which I'm gonna be real, bro. You don't go from day to day to doubtful. Like that's typically not how it works. Day to day is usually means like you're coming back soon. So to go from day to day to, all right, yeah, he's not even gonna play tonight, like straight up, I don't know. And then the part that's concerning is this is more or less how it started with his injury last year that kept him out the rotation. Remember, he started the game off, started the season with an injury that happened in preseason, but then he came back, played really, really well. All of a sudden went down with an injury. And I remember we were always talking about, okay, when Tari comes back, when Tari comes back, when Tari comes back. And then he just never came back. And this is like, it's kind of how it started last year, where it's like, okay, he's gonna be day to day. He's taking some time to kind of ramp back up. No, now he's not playing at all anymore. So I've already mentally prepared for Tari to be out just as long as Jabari, honestly. And if Jabari comes back and Tari doesn't, I'm gonna say that Tari's probably done for the season.
We talked about this yesterday on our playback, where we watch every Rockets game live. Most people in there were more concerned about the Tari injury than the Jabari injury, because this could be an injury. And Will, correct me if I'm wrong, they haven't really disclosed what exactly is going on, correct? And they haven't disclosed it. So the assumption is there's some discomfort where he had that surgery last season, where he had that benign growth in his bone, I believe, in his leg. If I'm praying there was something that didn't go wrong with that surgery, and they might have to do another one. That's what it's looking like right now. Because if there's going to be discomfort, and it's not going away, you're going to have another surgery. And that's probably why it's day to day, because structurally it looks fine, but at the end of the day, he still has that pain, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. So if it doesn't go away again, it looks like there's going to be another surgery. He'd have to miss the rest of the season. And I don't want him to play through something like that. I'm sure there are teams out there that are contending and say it's close to playoff time and something like this happens. They have Tari play through this. Tari is in year 3. I would, man, look, to get the surgery, make sure that that leg is perfectly fine going forward. I think he has a bright future. I love his outlook with the team. There's a reason that Stone came out and said, "Look, Amanda and Tari, we're not trading those guys because they're perfect fits with this Rockets culture with Udoka. Need to be long-term Rockets, but you can't have an injury pro Tari out there. And outside of this leg injury, he really is injury prone. He plays through everything. Not injury prone. He really is durable outside of this one injury. Like he over the course of his entire career, he doesn't really get hurt. It's just this one freak injury that he had in his leg. So get this cleared up and make sure he's good to go going forward. The doubtfuls and game to game and day by days, they don't fool me anymore. I don't think he's coming back anytime soon. Personally, I hope he does. Shout out to Tari's mom, who says that he's coming back soon. She obviously knows way more than us, so I'm praying that she's right. I'm just worried because it looks very similar to what we saw last season with Tari Eason, and that skill set is so valuable. Again, just make sure he gets the surgery if it's needed and he's back healthy this upcoming year. I'll close on this note. Will, would you say Tari goes through a surgery, right? He's still up for extension. Would you still extend him in the offseason?
Um, yes, but it's gonna be reflected. Like the
Mhm.
fact that he's hurt is gonna. So honestly, it might end up being a good thing if he figures it out, comes back strong. Because, um, that could be the way that we get him for cheaper than what he's supposed to go for.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, like that obviously makes it easier to not just retain him, but retain all the other young players on this team long term. It's getting them on value contracts. We already got Shingun on a value contract. And if Jalen's indeed a long term piece of this team, he's also on somewhat of a value contract. So being able to add more of those value contracts, I think will keep this team or make it easier for us to keep the players on our team. So yeah, I would be willing to extend him, assuming like the surgery goes well, and I have reason to believe it's going to be something that's behind him.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's definitely going to be reflected in what I offer him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would still extend, of course, Bari and Tari this offseason. The salary goes down for Tari for sure with the injury, but that's a guy that you need to lock in long term. I won't give any further analysis on that. But that was our episode. Wanted to knock out a few quick things. Reed definitely needs to see that G League time, in my opinion. Concerned with Tari's injury and praying Jabari comes back sooner than later. But did you have anything else you want to add? All right, we'll be back soon. I appreciate you guys for tuning into this episode of the Bradeaux Show.